everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I have on Don, and he is here to share with us a story.
The story I have was when I was cycling from north to south, so from Tuktoyaktuk to Point Pelee, which was an amazing journey, and it's 3 times as hard as going west to east. I did that as well. But I was in Saskatchewan, and it was a rainy day, and I grabbed a hotel room above a bar, kind of a scuzzy place, but at least I was out of the rain. And they had a washing machine and dryer, so I got everything dry. And I headed out from that hotel and was heading west, kind of southwest. And I arrived at a campsite in the dark, so it's just a small place. And found a campsite, unpacked all my gear with a flashlight, got into bed, and I woke up in the dark, used the flashlight, made a hot chocolate, oatmeal with standard breakfast meal, and got on my bike and took off. Well, I had been cycling all morning, and I come across a sign on I think it was the Trans-Canada, or no, it was the Saskatchewan Highway, and it said no services for 80 kilometers. And I looked down at my water, and there's only an inch of water left. And if anyone's a cyclist, you know you need water to do 50 miles. You just can't do it without it. So I thought, I've got to get water. So I'm standing next to the highway on a gravel road near the railroad tracks. Anytime you see railroad tracks and you're cycling, it's a good thing because you know there's going to be no huge mountains. The grade will be very low. So I thought, I've got to get water. And I'm standing there having a chocolate bar, contemplating the whole situation I'm in. And a white pickup truck come ripping down this gravel road, came over the railroad tracks, rolled down his window, and said to me, and this is the first thing he said, "Are you in need of water?" And I'm like, matter of fact, I am. And coincidentally, he just lived about 400 meters from where I was at. He had a artesian well in the back. He said, "There's an artesian well, take as much water as you want, and there's Saskatoon berries all the way around the house." So I loaded up on the Saskatoon berries and got as much water as I wanted and took off, which was incredible. It always happens to me. Whatever I need arrives right at my door. But as I went on, there were no gas stations, is what they meant by services. There were small towns with, maybe 50 people in it. And I pulled into that town, one of the towns, and there was a bar there. And I needed more water by then. And there were 3 people sitting on the porch. And I asked them, do you think I can get some water and some food down at the bar? She goes, "I've got water for you, and I make better food than they do. Come on up to the porch." And they fed me a beautiful lunch, restocked, and off I went again. Into the next little town, which only had a restaurant and an art gallery. And I went in there. They're always curious of what I'm up to, and told them I was up to. And the menu is whatever she's cooking. There is no menu. So whatever she's cooking, I said, "Well, give me whatever you got." So she made this beautiful egg ham thing and gave it to me. I went to pay it. She says, "No, it's on the house." And that was the Purple Shack. Purple. She had purple hair and was called the Purple Submarine, but it was quite entertaining for sure.
Is this over the course of several days or one day?
This is over one day.
Okay.
One day, yeah. And I asked them if they knew who would back the other town that would have done that, but they thought they knew, but I don't think it was the guy. And yeah. So it was an incredible day. It started out with no water, but I was well supplied all the way along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Whenever you need something, it just shows up magically.
Pretty much. It happens so many times all across the world. And people are people. I don't care what religion you are, where you're at, people want to help you. And me being vulnerable, kind of vulnerable on an old man on a bike, I'm usually well taken care of. But it's quite an experience, that's for sure.
At this point, of this story, how many days were you into your journey already?
I would say so it took me about 2.5 months. I was probably about 8 weeks in. It was, yeah, the Dempster Highway was incredible. A friend of mine told me when I started in Tuck that that would be the challenge of a lifetime. And it started out real flat. The new highway to Inuvik was flat. And then it was still pretty flat until I hit Fort McPherson. Then you could say all hell broke loose. There was mountains and big boulders in the road and trucks and no stores. It was absolutely nothing. So I had freeze-dried food, water from the streams.
Is this Northern Ontario or
Then
before?
this is Northwest Territories.
Oh, okay.
200 miles or whatever, 500, 300 kilometers, 400, more than that. 200 miles, anyways, north of the Arctic Circle. So I left June 5th from Tuck, and there was nothing but ice on the ocean.
Did you see Northern Lights?
You can't. It was 24-hour sun for the first month and a half.
Okay.
I have seen the Northern Lights in Tecumseh, Ontario. It was the best ones I've ever seen, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen them up in the Bruce Peninsula, out east, but my backyard in Tecumseh one year was, in fact, they made it to one of the TV shows at the end because it was kind of a news story that they went so far south. Yeah, they got a hold of me and said, "Hey, can we use your images?" So we signed a contract and they
Took pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was obsessed about seeing the Northern Lights. I went to Iceland to try to see them.
Oh yeah.
But when I was up there, it was cloudy for the whole week that
the
I was
whole
there.
week.
Yeah, didn't see a thing. And then just this November that passed, I was sitting in the airport getting ready to fly home, and I see on my Facebook, because I follow the Northern Lights groups,
So do I.
I see on my Facebook, like, hey, we might see it in the area for home, Windsor. And I was flying home. So I was like, okay, this is my shot.
Yep.
And I saw them in the air on the
Oh,
airplane.
how cool.
It was incredible. Yeah.
Cool.
I think I cried.
I would imagine so. I would imagine so. Yeah, that's incredible. And I mean, I used to go Windsor, London. I was driving, not cycling, back to London. I was living there. And I looked up in the sky and said, it kind of looks like little clouds out there. So I pulled over and I do a test shot. I just pulled over on the highway, no tripod, nothing, 30 seconds, boom. I said, oh, there we go, it's Northern Lights. So I pulled off the 401 when there's less light, shot it, and I was working for the newspaper at the time. I sent it to my editor. I said, how do you like these babies? And I wasn't even working, I was just shooting.
Yeah.
And the London Free Press, they changed the whole look of the paper. It went right across the country to Vancouver. And I have a Google alert for my name, right? So it was like ding, ding, Edmonton, Vancouver, Victoria, which was kind of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that was another time where they came really far south.
Yeah.
And it does happen, for sure. You
every
could
now
out
and
on
then.
Lake St. Clair, I've shot them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't have to go to Iceland.
I know. But it's
Iceland is
hard
nice.
in this area because there's light everywhere.
I just go to Lake St. Clair.
Yeah.
Like out to Pattilla Road, right at the end. That's where I shoot them all the time.
Okay.
Pattilla Road, there's this beach there that I used to own, right there. If, it's kind of private, but you definitely have access to it. But there's no lights there.
Okay.
It works well.
Okay. And then you said earlier that you're always taking pictures and you always have a camera on you.
Always.
When did your photography journey start?
My very first job at the Windsor Star, with my very first paycheck, I bought a Praktika at Kmart, and I was probably 18 years old.
So you weren't hired as a photographer, or were you?
No, I was throwing papers off the back of the truck.
Oh, okay.
And I was going to college for IT. But I don't know what made me. My mother was always an amazing photographer. Now that I look back at it, she was always organizing the kids in shapes and triangles and tall to small and all that sort of thing. So she was pretty good. But I didn't think it was her that inspired me until I looked back, 30 years later, and I thought, I wonder if that's the case. But yeah, since my very first job, I think, was the Windsor Star, and went to Kmart and bought a camera and wore it out in a year, and I have not put it down since. A lot of people go into it and get out of it. I've never put it down.
What about your favorite photo? Do you have one?
I have many. I've got, oh, there's so many amazing things I've seen, like a storm in the Namib Desert with lightning and all. And then, I mean, it was a huge storm. And then we had a rainbow going from the middle of Sesosflay in Namibia. It's a national park. There's dunes on both sides. In the middle is, they call it Flay, which is a flat area. And that's where you drive in. And we had a rainbow going from one side of the dunes to the other. In the middle of the desert that gets, whatever, 2/10 of rain a year. And the desert flooded. And I thought, I don't want pictures of the wet dunes. I took a few and I kicked myself when I got back because I had this preconceived notion of what I wanted it to look like. But the wet dunes I really liked. But the following, they dried out, which then I was back to shooting, but the desert was flooded. So you had all early morning light reflecting in the lake that was now there.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. That's one that comes to mind for sure. Many, I lived at that beach off of Patillo. I've got a storm that was incredible as well. I was out, there was a storm and it was kind of I think they call it anvil cloud. Well, it's kind of shaped like this and the lightning's underneath. And this was back on the film days. So I would do up to a minute exposure. So however how many lightnings hit between the 2 points or the edges of the frame, you've captured it. It's not like you see the lightning and push the button. The shutter is open. So anything that goes in between the 2 points, you've got.
Yeah.
And I think there's like 18 strikes of lightning in that one frame. And I didn't know I had it. I knew there was lots of lightning, but I didn't know I had it because it was film. And I hit the end of the roll. I reach down to grab another roll and look up, and this thing's on top of me in an instant. So I head back to the house. I'm walking with a tripod on my shoulder, and lightning hits a big maple tree 200 feet from me, which is the loudest explosion I've ever heard. And my body went into, well, my heart rate went up to whatever, 180. I don't know. It wouldn't stop. And after the lightning, because I photograph it all the time, it was no big deal to me. But my body was like, no, run, run. And it took about 10 minutes for my heart to settle down. It thought I should be running.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. But yeah, that was incredible.
Would you think of yourself as a storm chaser?
Well, not so much anymore, but yes, I definitely was a storm chaser.
Okay.
Yeah, I've chased them all over. And if now I'm just cycling, so I have to kind of plan in advance, and you really have to pick your spots. Windsor's not a good place to live if you wanna head out to Lake St. Clair or Lake Erie. You can get some amazing storms, but it takes preparation. So I don't shoot them as often as I'd like to, but that's one of the trade-offs from not having a car anymore.
Yeah.
I suppose I could rent one, but yeah, I sold my car after I went Canada west to east. I figured I travel a lot. I can go anywhere I want. Obviously, I just went across the country. And if I need to go somewhere besides the airport, I could rent a car or I can just plan ahead and I can cycle anywhere, really. I mean, and I am cycling. On May 26th, I'm leaving to do the rest of the world. And yeah, I'm doing a workshop in Bayfield May 30th, and I'm leaving the 26th. With plenty of time to get there.
So what does that mean, the rest of the world? Where are you going? Do you have a plan?
I never have a plan. Well, I have a general plan. I am going to do the workshop in Bayfield. Bayfield, Ontario, okay, on Lake Huron. And then August 15, 16, 17, I'm doing a workshop on Grand Manan Island, which is southern New Brunswick.
Photography workshop?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm cycling part of Canada, part of the US, probably come up through Maine to New Brunswick. Then once I'm done the workshop, I go visit all my friends out on the East Coast, then I have many. And then I'll head to Newfoundland. It's the only place I haven't done, or Newfoundland, I should say.
Forgive me if this is a stupid question, but you're biking to all of these places?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I'm packing the bike up, And flying to Dublin, Ireland, it's only a 4.5 hour flight, which I like the sounds of, rather than a 15-hour flight to Australia or
Yeah.
Africa. So 4.5 hour flight, and I will probably be there at least a year, maybe more. I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah?
go south to England and go right around the Mediterranean
Okay.
through
Oh,
Morocco,
okay.
Egypt,
I thought you meant you'd be
Jerusalem.
in Dublin for a year. No, that's
No,
your starting point.
that's my starting
And
point,
then you
and
go.
I don't know, I'll just make my way through Europe. But the plan is basically to go right around the Mediterranean,
Hmm.
and then maybe I'll do South America. I don't know.
Have you been on all of the continents?
As of, well, yes, I have. I've been on all. I haven't been to New Zealand, and I should have went. I have a friend I met on my west to east trip from New Zealand. Said, "Don't come to New Zealand. It's no good cycling." But I should have went anyways because of the driving and the roads are not conducive to cycling. But
Yeah, it sounds like you'll find a way.
yeah, yeah, I will find a way for sure. But I'm very much looking forward to Europe and Morocco and Egypt and Jerusalem and all of that. That's a whole different culture. I mean, even Asia.
Yeah. I mean,
Asia.
let's talk about the Vietnam. So you were just in Vietnam and you told me about that bridge and you said it's
Yes.
crazy there.
Yeah. So the cycle. This is a mountain that used to be, I guess, the king. Did they have a king back then?
I wouldn't
I
know.
think it was the king. I'm pretty sure it was the king's location because it's the tallest mountain around, and he can see the Chinese coming to get them. It's kind of a fortress. And after peace was made, he moved down into the city or somewhere in Vietnam, and but it's a long bike ride. And I got up to the top, and I was talking to these cyclists, um, and they said, and they said, "Oh," I said, "That's quite the ride up that mountain." He says, "Oh, you think that's there's a 90-year-old that does this mountain every day?" And I'm like, "No, if 90 years old, he's coming up this mountain." He says, "Yeah, he's not as quick as he used to be, but he does go up that mountain every day." And I'm thinking it's 10K up
Mm-hmm.
and not really gradual either. I mean, I walked it, part of it. But on top of this mountain, it was bought by some guy with probably billions of dollars. And he turned it into a hotel, almost like a Disney, but not that flavor. It's got art all over. It's the biggest smorgasbord I ever seen in my life. They feed maybe 700 people at a time. It had every kind of food you could imagine
Mm-hmm.
on that thing. And it was a long ways. I did a video of it and it took me probably 4 or 5 minutes to walk through the line just to scan the food. It was unreal. But they have amazing art, like the big hands holding up the bridge. All the buildings are kind of European stone walkways. Incredible place. Definitely worth a visit.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe a 90-year-old is cycling up that mountain every day.
People that are from those areas are just built different. Because, like,
They,
there's just so many times I go on a hike and there's just like old people limping up the mountain and they're doing it
that's
faster than
right.
I am.
That's right. It is amazing. Well, I think it's a matter of conditioning because even me, I was not a cyclist. If you ask anybody 1 year before I went on that trip, do you think Don Martel could cycle or would ever cycle across the country? That would be the farthest thing from their mind. Like they
Mm.
would never guess. In fact, when I told people I was going to do it, they were like, "You're out of your mind." And that's how the whole thing, I mean, I told other cyclists that I met going across the country that they were out of their mind. And
Mhm.
I guess I joined the club.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite a journey, I'll tell you. That's how the whole thing started. Did I tell you that one? That story?
I don't
You can edit
remember.
that. How I started this, how this whole cycling thing started. I might
I
have.
think you did, but tell me again. Yeah.
So a friend of mine had been bugging me to go up to Temagami to do a photography workshop. He said it's beautiful. They got ponds, they got lakes. It's the place, a good place. I said, well, it's kind of far away. It's an hour north of North Bay. So it's really, people have got to be dedicated to get there. And so finally, I decided I was going to go up and check it out. And it was beautiful. Well, cottages on the lake, cottages for everybody to stay. So it would work out perfectly. But we went to the town of Temagami, and we were going to the grocery store, and these two young kids pull in. They're about 25, maybe in that range, a guy and a girl. And I said, what on God's earth are you guys up to? Because I had never seen a bike loaded with gear. And they said, we're cycling across the country raising money for Alzheimer's. I said, you guys are out of your mind. Why don't you come back to my cottage? I got one like 30 miles down the road, or 50K. And we've got lots of food. We've got a spare bed. Why don't you come down? And they said, sure, we'll come down. And I get it now. And I said to them, so they arrived, and I was still curious. I picked up the bike, and it was, I don't know, 70 pounds. It was heavy, real heavy. And we were sitting around the fire that night, and I said to him, if I ever decided to cycle across the country, would you build me a bike? He worked at a bike shop. He said, sure. So 2 years later, I kind of followed them, and 2 years later, they're getting married. I said, hey, you looking for a photographer? They said, as a matter of fact, we are. We really can't afford you, but we would love to have you. 2 tickets to Kelowna, 3 nights in a hotel, and the bike. Deal. And that's how I got the bike. Now I have the bike.
Yeah. Is it the same one that you used
Yes.
to?
It was actually stolen, and I got it back. That's why it's named Miracle. So when I went north to south, it got stolen downtown Windsor, and it hit all the news because it was a fundraising bike. And I knew I would get it back sooner or later. I knew it. And it took about 6 weeks. I thought I might get it back on my birthday, which is May 21st. It got stolen in April, right around this time, actually, and a little bit earlier. And my birthday arrived and come go. And there was people who said they'd seen it here or there, and I could never get there fast enough. But on May 25th, I got a call from the Windsor police, said some guy just called and said he thinks he has your bike. So right away, I fired down Wyandotte and Windsor. I think it's kind of that seedy area of Wyandotte. And sure enough, the guy had my bike. And he told me that he bought it off a guy coming in from Chatham. And he took it home, and his brother said, go throw that bike in the river. It's the hottest bike in town. His brother had heard of it being stolen. And you could tell by the handlebars. They have the Jones bar. They're kind of... There's no other bike like it in Essex County, for sure, with that kind of handlebars. So he told him to throw it in the river. Instead, he looked it up and called the police. And coincidentally, I published the book on the first ride west to east on my birthday. The day I published that book, a friend of mine who had Alzheimer's passed away on that very day that I published the book that was dedicated to her. And I got a message from her daughter in August. She says, I was just reading an article about you getting your bike back on May 25th. And you would be happy to know that that's my mom's birthday. The lady who I dedicated the book to, I got the bike back on her birthday, which was mind-blowing, really.
Yeah.
I mean, to think I published a book on my birthday and I got the bike back on her birthday was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So that's why the bike has now a name, and the Miracle, and her birthday's on there, 0525, along with the little angel. Yeah. And the stickers were terrible, so I did what my mom did. I went and got some white paint and touched up all the stickers, so it really looks kind of like ghetto, but that's okay.
It's been through a lot. Don't judge it.
It deserves to look ghetto, yeah.
I did have a question earlier. Like, when you travel with the bike, how do you make sure the airport takes good care of it? Because there's always airport horror stories, right?
Yeah. Well, the bike is packed before it gets to the airport. Okay. But I will tell you a horror story. When there's generally an average weight of, I think, 35 kilos where you travel internationally. And I usually pack the bike with all my stuff, like the sleeping bag, the tent, which I never used in Asia, but I had it with me. And when I was leaving Australia, they had like a 20-kilo limit. So I had to pay $500.
Wow.
To get the bike on. I said, well, what am I supposed to do now? I guess I just pay the price. Had I known. But that was kind of a money horror story. Like the flight was $200 and the bike was an extra 500.
Yeah, that's
So we got to check weights. But that's common in I guess in Australia and New Zealand. Weight limits for baggage is a lot lower. Now I know.
So like you don't have carry-on, it's just all on your bike.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's all in the bike box. But I have one carry-on, probably my laptop, and maybe a couple cameras.
Yeah.
But all the cameras don't fit.
So essentially, when you're doing the riding, everything you need is on you.
Yes, that's the idea. 2 cameras, a GoPro, 2 GoPros, a drone.
So you don't have that much space for like food and water.
No, I know. The problem is I'm really heavy. But you could look at it as a hindrance or a blessing. I mean, you're going to be in better shape by the time you're done. Yeah, the bike is heavy, for sure. Heavier than most cyclists because I'm carrying all the camera gear with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm a little bit excessive. There are guys that do it. There's lots of guys that well, there's not a lot. The planet has, 15 billion people? It's probably 1,000 people
Is it
that
15
do this.
billion now?
I think
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it's around there.
1,000 of people like you?
Yeah, it probably
Around
is
the
1,000,
cyclists.
maybe less. A few hundred, for sure. Yeah, it's quite a life. And I don't know if I'll ever finish now that I've started. I think I will. Maybe.
It feels like if you were to stop, you'd miss it. There's so
Yeah.
many adventures that
Well,
you go on.
I was just watching a video and a guy described it like, you remember when you were 5 and everything was new and you were always excited to get out and see the world? That's exactly what it's like. I'm going literally into the unknown every day. And most of the time, it's a blast.
Yeah.
You do have struggles, for sure. But, the mountains are one. I mean, they're hard. And I'm getting old. And I'm going to try to find the flattest route through Europe. I could do them. Do I really enjoy doing them? No. It's just something that has to be done. The downhill is always fun. I'm not a crazy man on the downhills. I do use my brakes. I don't want to die.
Yeah. I'm clumsy on wheels, so anytime I'm on wheels, I need to be extra careful.
Yeah. Well, so do I, actually. It's been quite the journey.
I've started to bike this year. Not quite on your level, but I do have like a sense of freedom around the bike. Like I feel like, I could maybe bike there, do something.
Yeah.
So I'm
bike
excited to
it's
it.
great.
Yeah.
It's a great ride.
And this area's got lots of trails.
It seems like a long way. I mean, I'm sure I mentioned to you, when I first got a bike, I got a bike because I wanted to lend my car to my sister. And I worked from home, so it didn't really matter if I needed to do, she needed the car more to get to work than me. So I bought a bike, but I will never forget it. I took it down to the river from Campbell Avenue and University, you might as well say, down to the river and up to Ouellette and back to Campbell Avenue. And I'm sure I mentioned I could not make it up the hill from the river to Riverside Drive. I literally have to get off the bike to push it up. The next day, I was so sore. My butt was sore. Everything was sore. And I got back on the bike the next day. I didn't think I could make it to the stop sign. That's how out of shape I was, I guess.
Yeah.
But eventually, I just kept adding kilometer, and I had to struggle through the sore butt and the sore muscles, and I still do to this day. I'm sore every day, every single day, unless I take a month off, and then I can walk around like I'm normal. And I just kept adding, and my first ride was London to Grand Bend, and I thought, it's 100K. That was a big moment. And then somebody said to me, that's a century ride. And I went, what's a century ride? Well, that's when you do 100K or 100 miles, actually. There's a double century ride. I'm going to try that one. So I have done 200 miles in a day.
Okay.
It's a long day.
That's, yeah.
18. Well, I'm going to do one. Probably I'll do 200 miles on May 20th. I'll start out at 8 or 8:30, whatever sunset is, and finish at 8:30.
Overnight you're doing it?
Yeah, I'm going 24 hours straight.
Oh, okay.
Right around Essex County, raising funds for the Alzheimer's Society.
Right, okay.
Yeah, 24 hours. The last one I did was an international when the bus was running across the border. So I did American side and Canadian side. And I might go over again. I found another bus that goes across for $20.
Okay.
Throw your bike on the front.
Well, eventually you can go for free.
I know.
You heard about that? Yeah.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to do that. And a friend of mine, or well, a teacher that taught me in grade 3 or 4, was about 6 months ago diagnosed with a brain tumor. And he was at Windsor Western, and he wanted so bad to take his bike across. So I'm going to take it for him. Mm. He passed away, but he was an incredible man. And you would never know. For the first 4 weeks he was in the hospital, he was cheery, and we told stories all like every visit. And I went and seen him often. And he was not. I said, Carl, they are going to kick you out of here if you don't die. Well, I literally said, you're just all chipper and talking like yeah, it was amazing. But near the end, like I think 3 days before he died, he got sick, and they were limiting visitors, but I snuck in anyways. The nurses knew me, and I just told him, I went in, told him I loved him. He gave me a fist bump, and I said, I better go. I'm going to get in trouble with your wife. And he just chuckled, and I left. It was just enjoyable to sit around and tell stories from grade school up to now, and how we met again, and all that fun stuff. Mm. It was good. So I'm going to ride his bike across, and I might even fly back if they don't do it by May 20, whatever, 6, I think I'm going to leave. I'm going to fly back and do it.
Well, thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much for joining me.
It was
today,
nice.
Don.
It was a pleasure.
You'll have to come back next time you're back in the area after your worldwide trip.
Yeah, then I'll say I went around the world. Yeah.
Do you post about your adventures?
Yeah,
if people
always.
Want to follow
Yeah.
and keep track of you?
Yeah, Don Martel Photography on Facebook, on Instagram, all the rest.
Can people still hire you as a photographer?
If they have a lot of money. Yeah, they can. They can.
Okay.
Yeah, I still do headshots or whatever, but I'm still available for weddings. It's a lot of money, but other than that.
Well, if they have it, you'll take it.
And I'll give them good bang for their buck.